Monster Jam drivers come in all shapes, sizes, and colors. Some stitch the very fabric to what the sport is today. Others innovate and push new drivers to unforeseen limits many believe to be inconceivable. Okay, this got way too dramatic. To put it simply, while there are no doubt great drivers in Monster Jam history, that means that some either couldn't adapt or never got the exposure they surely craved, and faded away into the depths of the Monster Truck Wiki. For one reason or another, here are the top 10 forgotten Monster Jam drivers. For this list, we are counting FELD/Monster Jam drivers, so independents like Christy Edge and Brian Bartle are excluded from this list. I am also counting those who actually competed, so Jackie Carasoza is disqualified from this list. Now with the rules laid out, let's get started. Number 10, Whit Tarleton. Tarleton was the driver of Monster Mud alongside Mike Wine. However, Tarleton mainly stayed in the arenas for almost his entire career, with a handful of exceptions, most notably the 2009 Houston Thrill Show, where he laid it down a lit freestyle, literally. And it's not shocking to see why he'd be on a list like this. In 2010, he moved over to Spider-Man, only to return to the doghouse in 2012. He hung up the collar in 2014. Number 9, Bobby Parr. Bobby Parr was the final driver of Team Suzuki following Kathy Winston's retirement. His first full season driving the truck was in 2007. He landed himself a spot at World Finals 8, where he was knocked out in round 1 and was replaced by Frank Krimlin for freestyle. 2008 was a solid step up compared to his rookie season driving the truck. However, he retired with the truck at season's end. Number 8, Taryn Lasky. Lasky took over the rebranded Tasmanian Devil alongside Nicole Johnson when Adam Anderson moved to Gravedigger the Legend in 2011. Tasmanian Devil retired a year later, and Lasky would bounce around for all 3 Monster Mutts before calling Monster Mutt Dalmatian her home. She would make the 2013 and 14 Young Guns Shootout before leaving the sport that October. Number 7, Dana Creech. Dana Creech was one of 2 drivers of Monster Mutt in the stadiums for the 2010 season, the other being Ryan Anderson, who would of course drive Son of a Digger in 2011. As for Creech, for the rest of his career he would mainly be relegated to the International Tour in Derby and Madrid driving Spider-Man. Creech faded away from public memory by 2013. Number 6, Todd Frolic. Frolic began his career for driving for both Paul and Fred Schaefer in the 1990s before signing on with Team Gravedigger at the turn of the millennium. In 2003, Frolic got his big break when he called to pilot a brand new truck called Monster Mutt, replacing another driver that we'll talk about later. He would be invited to World Finals 4, where he would finish in the doghouse, no pun intended. Frolic hung it up after that. In 2006, Frolic would be reunited with his rowdy companion at West Lebanon. Number 5, Brendan Harrington. Originally a trucker for Gary Porter, Harrington would get his big break in mid-2001 driving Raging Steel. From then until 2008, he would keep a low profile, jumping around from Vet King, Spider-Man, and the Ninja Turtle. In 2008, he made his final start in Cowboy before driving off into the sunset. Number 4, Scott Pomerand. I hope I said that correctly. Beginning his career driving various WWF trucks for Wildfire Motorsports, Pomerand would slither his way into the black and green wrecking machine at the turn of the millennium. Like Harrington, Pomerand kept a low profile but would win often in untelevised stadium events in the early 2000s. His biggest exposure was winning in an Around the USHOA segment at the 2004 event in Vancouver. He capped his career off with a televised appearance at the final Monster Jam show so far in Montreal. So ends the story of the most forgettable full-time Gravedigger driver. Well, that would be if it weren't for number 3, Jason Childress. After a one-off in 1994 driving King Crunch and Pontiac, Jason Childress joined the Team Gravedigger fleet in 2003 and left the following season. After a one-off season driving Bulldozer, Childress would debut Batman in 2006. Like Pomerand, Jason Childress rocked when the camera crew was not there.
You stop his winning streak right now. The Batman truck did it. Ladies and gentlemen, you guys just saw it right here in Phoenix, Arizona. We are ready to tear this place down for freestyle!
Childress was riding high, only to retire at the height of his career to focus on his business with his brother Lonnie. Number 2, Colette Davis, the biggest wasted talent of the last decade. This is kind of sad. Colette Davis was tasked to drive Wonder Woman after Lindsay Reed moved to Scooby-Doo. After Brianna Mahan moved to Whiplash. Wrap your head around that. If you were around the community around 2018, you may remember seeing her vlog series titled Monster Jam Diaries. After the 2018 season, Davis just threw in the towel after that. Out of literally nowhere, her official reasoning is unknown. Before moving to number 1, here are some honorable mentions. Number 1, Chad Reed. This is the only case of a one-and-done Monster Jam driver. Chad Reed was a crew member for Tony Farrell since the beginning of his career in the mid-1990s. On January 3, 2003, Reed was tasked to debut a brand new truck, Monster Mutt. But here's where the story gets weird. Reed would retire right after the conclusion of the show in Oakland. The official reason was due to a family emergency, but it doesn't elaborate further. For a while, no one knew what this guy looked like, until around 2 years ago when this photo claims to have been of Chad Reed on the right. However, I should note that this photo was not of the Oakland show, obviously, since Reed was wearing a blacksmith uniform. And another thing worth mentioning is that Pablo Huffaker is in this photo. Huffaker was not the gravedigger driver in Oakland. Charlie Pauken was. And of course, Farrell in the middle, which makes sense since they were best friends and crewmates. In late 2021, Reed would be a guest on Scott Douglas's podcast he streamed on Twitch, but since a Twitch account is required to view it, I won't be able to see if he actually showed his face. Following Oakland, Todd Frolic would take over as Monster Mutt's first official full-time driver. Update. Thanks to the USHRA Discord server, they were able to provide me with more photos of Chad, including one with Tina Huffaker in Tony Farrell's spot. But now I pass the question on to you. Which Monster Jam driver have you forgotten about? Leave your comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you on the flip side.